Okay, so 4.1 is all about energy. We went over it a little bit, energy, a little bit in the at the end of 3.4 and 5, because there are types of transport when things need to get across our cell membranes that require energy. That is called active transport. And we name dropped the little molecule called ATP. We didn't really go into detail about it, but the energy molecule that our bodies use for every single process that our bodies do for us is ATP. So, our essential question for the chapter is, how do different organisms obtain and use energy to survive in their environment? And our key concept for 4.1 is about chemical reactions. Life depends on chemical reactions. Inside your body is a series of chemical reactions that are happening every second of every day to keep you alive. So chemistry, like I said, chemistry in the kitchen, we compare it. The starting substances are called ingredients. We mix them all together. If you've ever made anything in the kitchen or baked anything, you take a bunch of individual ingredients, you stick them in a bowl, you mix them together in a certain way. You add heat. Always got to add something for these chemical reactions to proceed. And the end result is called a product. The end result of this is just cookies. Chemical reactions happen when substances are changed by breaking and reforming chemical bonds. Talked a little bit about bonds way back in chapter 2. Covalent bonds, ionic bonds. They hold things together. Well, our body is constantly breaking and reforming bonds for us. So in the classroom, in the chemistry and biology classroom, in the science classroom, those ingredients are called reactants. Those are the starting substances of a chemical reaction. And then we always have to add something. Typically, that something is heat, but different chemical reactions that happen in nature have a different add button to be able to break and then reform those chemical bonds. So in that blank spot, you can put heat again. And then the products are the end result. The name is the same, whether it's in the kitchen or the classroom. The end result of a chemical reaction are still called products. How to write a chemical equation. All chemical reactions are written in the form of an equation. And yes, I want you to draw and label all of that. That's why it says highlighted in green, draw and label all of this. And you read it just like you would a sentence. You start on the left. Like we just said, the starting substances are the reactants. So A and B are the starting substances. They are on the left side of the arrow. A and B could be any chemicals that you find on the periodic table. And then you have an arrow because the direction of the reaction, just like how you read, goes from left to right. And then on the right side, the end results are the products. And we just called them C and D. They don't mean anything for now. It's just placeholders. The reactants are A and B on the left side of the arrow. The products are C and D on the right side of the arrow. And there are chemical reactions that actually go both ways. But for now, we're just learning the basics of chemical equations. You guys haven't gotten to chemistry yet. You can learn about two-way chemical reactions next year. So when I ask you to write a chemical equation, and I will ask you to write a chemical equation, be sure your answer is in the correct form. I should only see symbols. So if you read a question and it says, write the chemical reaction for photosynthesis is one that we're going to do. Make sure your answer is in symbols, letters, numbers, plus signs, arrows. When I ask you to write a chemical reaction, I should not see any actual words. ATP is a very, very important chemical, very important molecule for chemical reactions. When things are transported in and out of your cell membrane, that is a chemical reaction. Most of the time, ATP is required. So it stands for adenosine triphosphate. It is the chemical energy used for most cell processes. And molecules in food store this energy in their bonds. So that is the structural formula for ATP. You don't have to draw it if you don't want, but it will be useful to have in your notes for future quizzes and tests. You have an adenine molecule on the left, bonded to a ribose, which is a type of sugar in the middle, and then 3 phosphate groups on the right. That's where the tri and triphosphate comes in. Tri means 3. And ATP transfers energy from the breakdown of food molecules to cell functions. Energy is released when one of those phosphate groups is removed. And triphosphate then turns into diphosphate, 3 to 2. So you can see in the GIF, we'll let it start over for a minute. Not yet. The ATP comes, donates one of its phosphates to be a key to open that door, and those sodium molecules can now get outside of the cell. And then K plus is potassium. The potassium comes in, that individual phosphate goes away, and it opens the door the other way. So organisms break down carbon-based molecules to produce ATP. Carbohydrates are the most common. The bread, the rice, the pasta, the tortillas, we talked about these way back in chapter 2. Lipids actually store the most energy. Lipids have huge long chains. They have the most chemical bonds. The more bonds that are broken, the more energy we get. Proteins are the least likely. These usually get built up to make our body structures, not broken down for energy. Carbohydrates and lipids and fats are the molecules our body uses for actual energy to be able to do work.